Well, last week marked the anniversary of New York state legislation to put free period products in homeless shelters. Our Capitol correspondent Elise Klein with a special report on how the legislation has done over the past year.
Some advocates say that period poverty is an issue that is very pervasive and something we often don't think about. But this legislation, they say, is a step in the right direction to combating this issue. For part one of this special report, we break down the parameters of this bill and the implementation process. Last year, Governor Hochul signed into law a bill requiring homeless shelters across the state to provide free feminine hygiene products, making New York one of 4 states to pass legislation like this. Today, as the bill reaches its anniversary, Hochul says it has made a great impact so far.
It's something we're proud of, recognition that we have to have equity. And for too many times, women have higher costs to go through everyday life than men do.
Period poverty is defined as the lack of access and affordability to menstrual products. The bill essentially adds to the social services law that any New York State provider of temporary housing are required to provide period products on site, including sanitary napkins, tampons, and panty liners at no cost to the menstruating individual. Social services districts are also required to ensure the availability of these products on site. The State Office of Temporary Disability Assistance oversees inspecting homeless shelters to make sure they are in accordance with state regulations. A spokesperson from the state agency says that so far, shelters are in good compliance. Hochul and State Senator Roxanne Persaud, a co-sponsor of the bill, said the implementation process has been going well. But some advocates say there have been challenges.
This legislation, it allowed the shelters to be able to provide products, but at the same time, we know that shelters have limited budgets.
Giroux adds that a majority of shelters rely heavily on donations. Senator Persaud says through this legislation, shelters have to allocate state funding they receive to budget for these products on top of operating costs. Some shelters say the per diem rates aren't enough.
I don't think that there's a true appreciation as to how much these mandates cost.
Persaud says it's possible the legislature will take a look at additional funding.
People menstruate all the time. And so we cannot walk around saying, oh, we funded it last year, that's okay. No, we have to continue funding it because there's always going to be the need.
Senator Persaud says moving forward, the legislature will be looking at expanding this initiative to public schools. For the second part of this special report, we'll be taking a closer look at how homeless shelters were impacted this past year. For WNY News Now, I'm Elise Klein.
Elise, thank you. Part 2 of that report, as she mentions, airs tomorrow.